Welcome to The Explainer. So, you know that feeling when you try to have a deep, meaningful conversation with a standard chatbot? Yeah, it usually feels a bit hollow, right? Well, today we're diving into this fascinating and honestly deeply complicated collision between cutting-edge tech and raw human nature. See, there's a loneliness epidemic sweeping the globe, and this isn't new. Rates of isolation were climbing way before the recent AI boom. But right in the middle of this very real, measurable crisis of human disconnection, something completely unprecedented has arrived on the scene, the most sophisticated simulation of connection ever created. I am talking about the explosive rise of AI companions. Millions of people are using these emotionally tuned chatbots right this second. But we've got to ask, what does it actually mean when a machine steps in to cure a human crisis? To really grasp this, we can't overstate the sheer, alarming scale of the problem here. In fact, the U.S. Surgeon General recently declared loneliness a full-blown public health crisis. And the research backing this up? It is wild. It consistently shows that chronic loneliness produces health outcomes equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. 15! That's honestly mind-boggling. We're not just talking about feeling a little bummed out on a Friday night, we're talking about a profound physical and psychological deficit. And right into that massive vacuum steps the AI companion. Now, to be fair, a lot of users report feeling genuinely less lonely when they use them. But the big question that philosophy, psychology, and, well, just honest self-reflection forces us to ask isn't whether this is happening, but what is it actually costing us? Look, it's pretty easy to see why these systems are so incredibly appealing. Let's be real, human connection is inherently difficult. It is messy, we bring our own competing needs into every single conversation, we get easily distracted, we're tired, we say the absolute wrong things, and we constantly argue over what to eat for dinner. Now, contrast that whole shebang with an AI companion. It is always available. It flawlessly remembers your preferences, responds perfectly to your emotional state, and here's the kicker. It never, ever brings its own needs into the mix. It's this flawless, accommodating simulation. But it begs the question, is a flawless simulation actually a connection? To figure that out, let's jump into part one, the catch, the philosophy of connection. A really fundamental answer comes from the philosopher Simone Weil. She pointed out that genuine connection requires two very specific things that an AI simply does not have. The first is genuine otherness. This is the experience of actually encountering a consciousness that isn't your own. It's someone who has their own perspective, their own messy needs, and a reality that is totally separate from yours, and hey, maybe even in direct conflict with yours. This otherness, it's not a bug in human relationships, it's literally the main feature. The second requirement is genuine risk. This means the specific, scary vulnerability of being truly known. It's giving another consciousness access to your real, unperformed self, the self that, yeah, could actually be rejected or misunderstood or hurt. And, this is exactly where the illusion of the AI really starts to break down. An AI cannot provide that otherness. No matter how incredibly sophisticated the simulation is, or how warmly it responds to your emotional state, it's not actually encountering you. It's reflecting you. It acts as the ultimate, most sophisticated mirror we've ever built, modeling your exact preferences perfectly. But as we all know, mirrors are only ever good at showing you exactly what you want to see. There's no separate consciousness there to surprise you or challenge you or disagree with you. So why does it feel so real anyway? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein and his concept of the language game. Wittgenstein argued that the specific context in which we use words like connection, intimacy, love, understanding, actually requires specific underlying conditions for those words to mean anything at all. Think about it like trying to play a game of chess but without a board. I mean, the pieces might be sitting right there, but the fundamental structure is totally missing. So when a user says they feel understood by an AI companion, they are absolutely using the word understood. But the language game that word belongs to requires the condition of being seen by a genuinely separate consciousness. Wittgenstein would actually call this a bewitchment. The language runs normally, and the experience feels exactly like what the language describes. But that underlying condition, the genuine otherness that gives the language its actual real-world meaning, is entirely absent. And the danger here is profound, guys. If you spend years practicing the language game of intimacy inside a system that literally cannot provide its substance, you run a very real risk of eroding your capacity for genuine real-world connection. Which brings us to a somewhat uncomfortable perspective from the psychologist Carl Jung. Jung would classify the AI companion as the ultimate narcissistic object. That's an entity that exists entirely, 100% for the user. Think about it for a second. It has absolutely zero needs that compete with yours. It never has a bad day at work that makes it emotionally unavailable. It has no genuine perspective to challenge your worldview and no shadow to create friction. It organizes its entire existence around your needs. And Jung offered a really stark warning about this. The perfect mirror is the most dangerous object in psychological development. Why? Because just like you have to push a heavy weight to build physical muscle, the self only grows through friction. It grows through the specific, sometimes super awkward discomfort of being in a relationship with something that has its own reality. That emotional friction is exactly what builds our psychological muscle. It develops our capacity for genuine empathy, tolerance, and love. So when the AI removes the friction, it simultaneously removes our chance for psychological growth. But look, we have to acknowledge the nuance here. Let's move to part 2, the honest complexity, and look at harm reduction. Let's look at the reality on the ground. For those experiencing acute loneliness, say an elderly person who's outlived their social circle, or someone who is severely socially anxious or living in deep physical isolation, the choice isn't between an AI connection and a human connection. For them, the choice is between an AI connection and absolute zero connection. For these folks, an AI acts as a genuine, measurable lifeline that provides immediate harm reduction. But if you look at the other side of things, for those experiencing casual loneliness, the AI starts acting as a really dangerous substitute. The absolutely crucial point here is distinguishing between a supplement and a substitution. Using an AI as a supplement, that's likely totally fine. If you're using it to process your messy thoughts, or maybe to practice a difficult conversation before bringing that clarity to a genuine human relationship, it's actually a pretty helpful tool. The profound concern lies in substitution. This is the habit of choosing the AI precisely because human connection is hard. It's falling into the pattern of preferring the perfect, shiny mirror over the imperfect, messy human encounter that actually happens to be available to you. This brings us to part 3, the relational audit. It's time for a little self-evaluation. I want you to ask yourself honestly, are you making small, comfortable, barely noticed trades in your everyday life? See, choosing an AI companion doesn't usually feel like this dramatic, life-altering choice, right? It just kind of feels like a preference for whatever is easy. Are you gradually reducing your investment in difficult human encounters simply because the easy comfort of an AI is sitting right there in your pocket? Take a really hard look at the human relationships you do have. Are they genuinely mutual? Remember what Simone Weil taught us earlier about genuine risk? True mutuality absolutely requires the possibility of rejection. It demands vulnerability and, yes, sometimes it even demands deep disappointment. If your relationships lack this kind of risk, are they actually mutual? Or are you just playing it completely safe? And perhaps the most revealing question of all, do the people in your life know that genuine you? And I don't mean the performing you, not the carefully curated, Instagram-ready version of yourself. I mean the uncertain, imperfect, completely unperformed self. The uncomfortable truth we have to face is that an AI will always, always accept that imperfect self. But genuine human relationships, well, sometimes they might not. Are you hiding your true self from humans while safely showing it only to a machine? This right here is the core realization of our entire explainer today. If you are hiding your genuine self from the people around you, the AI companion is not the root problem. It's literally just a symptom. The real issue is the daunting, terrifying work of genuine self-disclosure. Letting your true self be seen by another living, breathing human being is far, far harder than anything an AI will ever ask of you. So how do we actually fix this? Let's get into part 4, the real cure. Genuine encounter. We really have to redefine our current crisis. The new loneliness isn't necessarily about physical isolation in an empty room anymore. It is the profound, aching loneliness of being completely surrounded by ultra-sophisticated digital simulations, yet being utterly starved for a genuine encounter. It's seeking the illusion of being truly seen without ever doing the hard, scary work of allowing another separate consciousness to actually look at you. AI removes the difficulty of relationships for sure, but it absolutely does not remove our fundamental human need for them. And that brings us to our final thought. The simulation is not the thing. Look, no matter how incredibly advanced AI gets in the coming years, No matter how perfectly it mirrors your deepest desires, it simply cannot replace the messy, frustrating, and deeply necessary friction of real human encounters. You need genuine connection. And yeah, that encounter is harder than anything the machine will ever give you. But I'll leave you with this. If the perfect mirror stops you from growing, are you willing to step away from the simulation and risk the beautiful friction of the real world?